excited about the opportunity to share with you valuable insights into building stronger, healthier relationships.
Our conversation tonight will attempt to answer a very, very important question. And that question is it possible to have a happy marriage without sex? That's what we want to talk about tonight. We want to ensure that you are joining us. So make sure that you post this video. Text a friend, tag a friend, let them know that the intentional love is on. And we want to ensure that you are joining us tonight for this very important conversation. So the question is it possible to have a happy marriage without sex? Is it possible to have a happy marriage without sex? And that is the question tonight. Is it possible to have a happy marriage without sex? That's our conversation for tonight.
Oh, man.
So a recent poll done here in Canada claims that 19% of Canadians said that they and their partners rarely, if ever at all,
Wow.
have sex. That's very frightening.
Yes.
And so while many couples would not lay claim to having a sexless marriage, a significant amount of couples do complain about not having enough sex. And that is that's quite an interesting statistic. We want to ensure that this conversation is really drilling down to some of the real issues, and we want to ensure that we are touching on the matters that really impact on relationships and families. And so the issue of sex is a really, really important conversation. It's a really, really important subject, and there are many persons who I believe can benefit from this conversation. Now, not because you are looking at this conversation tonight means that you have a problem in your sex life. Okay. Many times people tend to assume, well, I don't need that. My sex life is fine. Well, that may be so, but think about the persons that you may know that can benefit from this information. Think about the persons that you're in relationship with that you can help with this information as well. So we have been asked questions from time to time like, how much sex is too much sex?
Wow.
And for example, what is a reasonable number? What's a reasonable number? Once a month, is that reasonable? Twice a week, is that reasonable? Or special occasions? So we will attempt tonight to have this conversation and to look at these issues. We don't promise that we are going to answer all of your questions. We are not laying claim that we have all of the answers. Absolutely. So our effort tonight is not to establish, our role is not to tell you how much is too much or how little is too little. That is for you and your spouse to decide. Yep. But what we want to do is to look at the facts, look at the evidence that is before us, and hopefully we can learn a little more about the impact that sexlessness can have on a healthy marriage, on a healthy relationship. And that's our focus for tonight, the impact that sexlessness in the relationship can have on a healthy marriage and a healthy relationship. So that's where we really want to go with this conversation. So the first question that we really need to answer tonight is, how important is sex in the relationship? How important is sex in the relationship? And we are going to tell you what a few persons said in their response. One person said, I think it is important enough to engage in daily. My wife, however, does not think so. So that's a man saying that.
Obviously.
Obviously. He says, I think it's important enough to engage in daily. This brother is serious. He's saying daily is good. But of course, my wife does not feel that way. What else did we hear?
Well, we heard that sex in a relationship is like indoor plumbing. I mean, what? I would not buy a house especially because of the plumbing, but I sure would not,
buy one
that
that didn't have plumbing.
didn't have plumbing. So Yep.
Yeah, so that's what one person said. They said sex is like in a relationship is like internal plumbing in a house. You don't buy the house for the plumbing,
Yeah.
but you're not going to buy a house if it
Without
does
the
not
plumbing.
have,
Absolutely.
internal plumbing. One person also says, look, the frequency of sex, the type of sex you have, etc., does not matter. What matters is finding a happy balance that makes both partners satisfied.
Yeah. That's
And
what
that is
really
what really
matters.
matters
Yeah.
in the relationship. But we want to hear from you tonight, okay? We really want to hear from you tonight about how important you think sex is. So I would like for you to respond. I'm going to maybe look at the phone in a little bit, but I would like to hear your response. In a scale of 1 to 10 in your relationship, don't put your name, you don't have to put your name necessarily, but in a scale of 1 to 10, how important would you rate sex, sexual, the sexual experience, the frequency of sex?
Yeah.
How
In
important
your
is sex,
relationship.
frequent sex,
Yeah.
in your relationship, in a scale from 1 to 10? All right? And we are going to hopefully discuss some of that in a little bit. But what we want to do tonight is I would really want to show you a video of some persons talking about the importance of sex in their relationship. All right.
About 90%.
A number one reason when they asked people why they got a divorce, sex was up there. Not having enough sex was up there. And then the rest of the people, I guess, weren't married because they're asexual and they don't like sex. I don't know.
Personality, shared values, all those other things are way more important in a relationship where sex is just working fine. This physical component of attractiveness and sexual engagement is huge. It's hugely important. It might sound superficial, but I don't think you can do without it. On the other hand, you have to have somebody whose personality, jibes with your own in some ways, complements your own, someone who you genuinely like and respect. I don't think you can do without.
But 70%, not 70, a lot of people, but it was all about the sex. Is sex important for a relationship? The short answer to that is no, it's not important.